Beet Kvas is another fermented beverage that is very delicious, but definitely for a discerning palate. I mean, you know, it's not for everybody because you gotta love beets. I love beets, so I love Beet Kvas. Here we have one that has been fermenting for 3 days. You want to let it ferment for at least 7 days. So I'm going to show you how we assembled it, and then we'll put it together and we'll let this one sit for 7 days. So here's what you do, and it's so simple. You need a kefir starter, and I use Wilderness Family Naturals, and you can go online to their website. It's wildernessfamilynaturals.com. They make an excellent kefir starter. That's all you need is 1 packet. These packets come in 6 of them in one large packet, and that's the best way to buy them, 6 at a time. So here you go. Here's my little packet, and this is the same thing and very similar process if we were making milk kefir. So you take this little packet of the culture grains, and that's what they are. They're grains, and they're different strains of cultures. And we're going to put it just in a couple of cups of water here into this jar. And again, just like I did with the yogurt, I'm just going to whisk it and blend it with this water only rather than putting it into the entire jar. Okay, that should be good. We're going to add a couple of teaspoons of salt. That's all we need. Now, this is the easy part. The hard part was washing and cutting all the beets. You can peel the beets if you like. These are peeled, but these, I didn't peel them. I washed them very, very well, and I cut off the ends. You especially want to use organic, particularly with beets and carrots and anything that's into the earth, because that's where it's really receiving a lot of the pesticides and herbicides if they are used. Of course, you always want organic, but make sure your potatoes and all your root vegetables are organic. Okay, so another thing about the water temperature, it's best if you don't use it cold. And you might see a couple of things floating around in here. They're just pieces of dulse flakes that we have that have traveled over to the salt dish. And they'll be fine. We could probably add some of those, but we're not going to. Now you can see some of my salt here still lingers into the dish, so I'm going to pour this water in here so I can get all of that yummy salt. And that's about all you have to do, is fill this with water. This is a gallon jug, and we used about 3 to 3.5 pounds of beets. And we're going to let this sit for 7 days. Now we're keeping it upstairs, so it keeps kind of warm. Room temperature is fine. However, if it's very, very cold where you're living, you're going to want to keep it somewhere warm, you know, like a dark closet, almost like the same way you do cultured vegetables. So we just cover it and let it sit. Isn't that easy? That's so easy, except for the beets. When I cut all the beets, my hands were red, so I got some gloves. But it was still easy. I think the Beet Kvas is ready. We have 2 of them. This one has been fermenting for 4 days, and this one has been fermenting for 2 days. And what I want to show you here is how we're going to harvest it and how we're going to prepare ourselves for a brand new batch. This is the one that you saw us prepare a few days ago. And you'll notice that on the top there's a little bit of mold that has formed. And I wanted to show you this because you can just take it right off and still the Beet Kvas is okay. When you make the kvass and you have it ready to sit and ferment, you want to put a lid on it tightly and leave it that way, because it's the air that comes in that starts to create some mold or little particles that, you know, attract to it. But it's really not that big a deal. So I'm just going to scrape this off. And now I'm going to taste it. You know, I think you're going to like this. It really just tastes like beet juice. It has a little bit of a tang to it, a little bit of salt in it. But what's wonderful about this kvass is that it's a marvelous blood purifier. It's good for the liver. It aids in regularity, and it's awesome for your digestion. Now this one has only been fermenting for 2 days, and you can see the difference in it. It's got a little foamy action at the top, which is from the fermentation process. Now the difference in the two of these is that we never took the lid off of this one. So it had the opportunity to stay airtight and ferment from the kefir starter that we used. Now before I harvest these, I want to tell you just a little bit more about the timing. There are some recipes that call for fermenting this for 7 days, and there are some that call for fermenting it for 2 days. So I think you just have to judge your own self. It also depends on how much salt you put in and what kind of a starter you use as well. We used this kefir starter, but you can also make beet kvas with whey. And the whey is a starter for many processes of fermentation and many recipes. You can make your own whey, and the process of how you make the whey is from yogurt. If you've ever noticed when you make kefir or yogurt, it will separate, and it's that liquidy part that gets at the top. That's the whey. Even if you've had yogurt at home from regular commercial yogurt and you open it up and there's a clear liquid at the top, that's the whey separating from the cheese or the process that the yogurt's taking. Now, we did not do a segment on how to make whey, but there's plenty of information out there on the internet if you want to learn more, and I'll have some on my website as well. But just sticking to this process right now with the beet kvas, many people get scared and afraid of fermenting at home, and when they see little pieces of mold like that, it concerns them. And it takes a little bit of trial and error and learning how to do it and tasting it and seeing what the differences are. Now, I say it's nice to leave these for a few days. I would want to leave mine probably for about 4. Now, you never want to grade the beets either, because if you grade the beets, you're going to break them down even more, and that's going to create a more rapid fermentation process, more like alcohol, and you don't want that to happen. So now I'm going to show you how to harvest this. I'm going to take this one, move this over here. You want to retain your beets because you can use them one more time to make an entire batch. Be very careful because you know beet juice can stain and it'll splash. But I'm going to pour it here in a measuring cup first. I think we have it almost full. Ooh, that was a good one. And I did make a mess. So be prepared. So I'm going to set this right up here and just let that drain. And then these can be poured into a jar. Look how much that makes. That's enough to last you. The recommendation is to drink about 4 ounces a couple times a day. And as I said, it aids in regularity. It's awesome for your digestion, and it's a great blood purifier and a liver tonic. It's beautiful, isn't it? These beets are good for 2 batches. This is our first batch. I'm going to put these back into the jar. I'm going to leave a little of the liquid. I'm going to fill it to the top. I'm going to add a teeny bit more salt, and it's going to ferment again for a second batch. When the second batch is over, we will discard the beets, and then we can save some of the inoculant, save some of the liquid to inoculate our third batch. And that would probably be about a cup's worth. If you have any questions, go to chefteton.com, give me an email, write me, and I'll see what I can do to help. What I want to encourage you to do, though, is to start making fermented foods. The reason I chose beet kvas is that it's such a powerful food. It's very simple to make. It's very affordable. And I think you'll enjoy it. It tastes fabulous. This is delicious. It's very, very good. It's delicious. Gosh, that's good. Bottoms up.